Greetings and welcome to the Buffalo Review TV. I'm Ryan Richards.
And I'm Alex Sylvia. Thanks for joining us today.
Now, from the campus of SUNY Buffalo State, news and information for Buffalo and the surrounding communities, it's the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media.
Buffalo State had designed a portal to make it easier for students to earn scholarships. Campus Application Portal for Scholarships, or CAPS for short, has put all of the scholarships Buffalo State has to offer onto the webpage. There are over 35 scholarships currently available. Scholarships opportunities are available for first-year transfer, graduate students, specific majors, community service, and more. Go to Buffalo State Financial Aid website and click on the scholarships box in the left margin. The deadline for all scholarships listed on CAPS is March 31st. The Equity and Campus Diversity Office on Buffalo State campus presents the Beyond Boundaries Dare to be Diverse film series. The film they will be presenting is Free Angela and All Political Prisoners, directed by Shola Lynch. The film will be on Thursday, March 15th at 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. in the Berkfield Penny Art Center. Free Angela and All Political Prisoners will be a film about the life of Angela Davis. Davis lived being an American political activist and the difficulties she faced, amongst others. School violence has been a big epidemic that has been occurring in the United States.
There's been a number of school shootings since this year. Talisa Hernandez has more on the story.
Thank you, Alex. Buffalo State College held an event this past Thursday on school violence for the campus community. 7 faculty members got to answer questions and concerns in a panel while also addressing the overall issues on school violence across the state. Many students expressed their concerns on this campus particularly, but many also felt as if Buffalo State is preparing now to the best of their abilities. Buffalo State College held a school violence forum with faculty and staff on Thursday, March 8th at 4:30 p.m. in South Bolger Communications Center. The event was to raise awareness on recent school shootings and helping students become more educated in ways to prevent these acts.
I think we're as prepared as anyone can be for such a thing, and statistically speaking, it's a very rare phenomenon. I think that the things that we're doing at Buffalo State that are outside of school shooting type things, more focused on being a community of care and treating people with respect on campus day to day, is probably the most proactive thing that we can do.
Many students and faculty got to attend the event and speak on recent school shootings in the United States, raising their concerns on the future of education.
I think events like mass shootings and stuff aren't something you can technically really prepare for when you're in a situation like that. Things are always very different and a lot of emotions are going through you, so I think that Buffalo State is definitely doing the best of their ability to prepare us for things like this. I think this discussion is a really good idea just to get people talking. Talking creates change. If you can't have a change without talking, so I think we are doing a very good job.
Yeah, I think this event was great, and I hope that other colleges, not just the College of Education, could attend, that there will be a variety of other people here as well.
What could we do better? There's lots of things we could do better. We could do better with gun control laws, we can do better with mental health care, and we can do better in having civil conversations with each other about this sort of thing.
Buffalo State wants to continue to reassure student safety by conducting more programs to help the campus community voice their opinions. This is Talisa Hernandez signing off from the Buffalo Review TV.
On Sunday, March 11th, the Buffalo State Club hockey team faced the Hilbert and Medaille combined team in their first annual outdoor charity game. The game took place at Riverworks Hockey Rink at 2 p.m. The price of admission was $3, and there was also a 50-50 raffle. The money was split by 2 charities selected by each team. The charity selected by Buffalo State was Hockey Saves, and Hilbert and Medaille chose Kaylee's Kindness Foundation. After the game was over with a Buffalo State victory, the teams tallied up and raised just over $300. The African American Students Organization presents their annual Mr. and Mrs. Mahogany pageant. The pageant will consist of 6 contestants, 3 girls and 3 boys, all competing to be crowned the winner. This year's theme is the Harlem Renaissance. All contestants were provided an idol to portray in the pageant. Mr. and Mrs. Mahogany will be held on Friday, March 16th at 6:30 p.m. in the Social Hall. Tickets will be $3 for Buffalo State students and $5 for non-Buffalo State students.
The Buffalo State softball team was ready to go until the weather decided it wasn't softball season yet. The doubleheader was supposed to take place this Friday, March 16th, against DUEville. Instead, the Bengals will open up their season against Wisconsin Eau Claire and Plymouth State on March 20th, first in Clermont, Florida. As hearings begin to decide if servers should be given a higher flat rate wage, here's Tara Hart with more on the story.
Thanks, Ryan. Governor Cuomo has proposed to raise the wages for tipped employees so that their base pay will be equal to that of other industries. But he's facing a serious backlash from workers in the bar-restaurant business who say the plan could ultimately lead to a reduction in tips, costing them their livelihood. Many are referencing the age-old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
A fun, memorable experience, and in doing so, you know, the money comes along with that. I'm highly compensated.
Lisa Fidel is one of many servers protesting Governor Cuomo's proposal to eliminate the tip credit in favor of raising wages for workers in industries that rely heavily on gratuity.
If it were a flat rate, honestly, I don't think I would work as hard, because I would look at it like, well, why does the girl next to me that's not working as hard, that doesn't have the personality, get the same amount that I'm making?
Cuomo says employees that rely on tips to supplement their income suffer from fluctuation in pay, which puts them at greater risk for poverty. If Cuomo's plan passes, servers say the long-term effect means a loss of income for them, and it will have a negative impact on customer service. Nick Christo says raising wages will put many mom-and-pop restaurants in jeopardy of folding. As the owner of Mitchell's Tavern, a bar that primarily attracts blue-collar workers, Christo shares concern for Cuomo's plan.
The disconnect between the politicians and the business people seems to be sometimes, especially small businesses, seems like there's a gigantic disconnect between the two.
Many restaurants say they will have to recover losses by raising prices, reducing the number of servers on each shift, or even shortening the hours or days they're open.
This place would fold. I don't think that it would be able to stand on its own, because we would have less employees on staff because we wouldn't be able to afford it. The service would falter because we wouldn't be able to accommodate the large crowds that we have, and I don't think that it would last very long.
Kevin Young, a bartender for over 20 years, says those who don't want a variable income should choose a different job in customer service that already offers a flat rate pay.
Because the tips get taxed at a rate that overcomes what we make in our checks. So we don't work for the paycheck or the wage, we work for the tips.
The Department of Labor will hold hearings from March until May throughout the state before making their final decision. This is Tara Hark with the Buffalo Review.
In the Buffalo community, there has been allegations of people being sexually abused by priests. Most of the victims are adult men who are coming out about being molested as young boys and teenagers. Being a victim of sexual abuse has affected most of their lives. For example, having trouble with alcohol, drugs, anger issues, parental issues, and divorces. Most recently, Catholic priest Reverend Norbert F. Orzolitis came out saying he abused probably a dozen young victims. The Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation has donated $5 million towards building custom playgrounds and skate parks across all Western New York. This is a part of an initiative to get kids outside and playing with the hopes to enhance both the physical and mental health of younger generations. The foundation will be teaming up with Kaboom and the Tony Hawk Foundation and are looking at an outcome of 20 parks across Western New York. Another $5 million donation has been made to Detroit, Michigan again with the hopes of boosting outdoor morale. With construction underway, the Wilson Foundation still hopes to reach out and continue creating more exciting ways to promote involvement in their charity.
Over 30 breweries will be attending this year's beerology event at the Buffalo Museum of Science. The event, taking place on March 24th, is one of the museum's largest fundraising events. The museum works with local breweries and beer experts to explore the science behind brewing. Returning guests include the Buffalo Beer Goddesses and the Sultans of Swing, as well as guests like Brian Barrows of Trocair's brewing program. The event goes from 7 to 10 p.m., and all general admissions and VIP passes have already been sold out. We're going to take a quick break. This is the Buffalo Review TV.
3, 2, 1.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, thebuffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.
As of last week, Monday, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz signed a law making gay conversion therapy illegal. For those who don't know, gay conversion therapy is any treatment that aims to change the sexual orientation or gender identity of someone under the age of 18. I just want to start off by saying that discrimination of any kind to any group of people is inexcusable. The debate or topic of how one would consider themselves as homosexual or if it's right or wrong is a sensitive topic in itself. Here we have with us sociology professor P. Rudy Matai, whose interests are cultural diversity issues and social, race, class, and issues in schooling. What I want to focus on is the LGBT community. For first off, what does this law mean for them specifically in the Buffalo community?
Well, I think that it's basically a discriminatory notion more than just LGBT folks. It has to do really with the notion of discrimination based presumably largely on religious grounds, but I think it's more than religion for most people.
Nearly all medical organizations oppose conversion therapy, so why is it still being talked about to this day?
Because if you take laws by themselves, it doesn't mean that because laws are enacted that people will change their belief systems or even change their positions. All you need to do is look at the Civil Rights Amendment, particularly with school in 1954, Brown versus Du Bois, and desegregation of schools. We're back segregated. Many folks talk about resegregation. I think we never were segregated. And so this law falls within the same genre of that discriminatory practices.
Interesting. One thing I kind of caught on to what you were saying was the religious beliefs play into that.
Yeah.
What I want to ask is, religion seems to be at the forefront of discussing homosexuality. What role does Christianity play in promoting conversion therapy, do you believe?
Well, I think religion, and particularly in this country here with presumption that it's Judeo-Christian tradition, and so even though we talk about religious freedoms and religious rights, people get back to that point of thinking that's the only one that is permissible. And I think we need to remember that the whole notion of discriminatory practices had its roots, not primarily, but in religious notions, that God so created people and they were different, and give justifications for that.
What I want to touch on a little bit is that, of course, there'll be the LGBT community for their side. Why do you think it's so hard for many young people that are a part of that community to come out and reveal themselves to family or friends?
Because it's still taboo. It is not something that people have gotten over. There's a greater probability that when one's child has made changes, one thinks about changing only because of the love of children. But I think that it still remains a taboo in very many places. It's not, something we've gotten over already. No different. I think we have to go back over and over again to this whole notion of race.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we have tremendous changes. We have some changes, but not tremendous. All we have to do is remember Charlottesville.
Yes.
And it's not very far from our mind. Remember South Carolina. To a less extent anywhere. And I don't think that the whole issues in the Middle East and in Muslim countries has helped us to get past that, because we see a new kind of racism.
So this new type of racism, and of course people being possibly turned off with the taboo that you were talking about earlier, why are so many people have a negative view on homosexuality, since it doesn't really pertain to them if they're not a homosexual?
Well, I think with race there is also this notion of gender inequality to begin with, and this whole notion of manness begins to come into play about that. And so to talk about homosexuality somehow, to demean this whole notion of the pivotal role that men play. And so part of that also is that, and you see too with the Me Too movement, I mean, it's loud and it has quite a lot of sway, but I think underneath all that facade, there's still quite a bit of gender inequality in our society. And LGBT, I think quite a few of those notions converge in LGBT concerns.
All right. With in terms of the madness or manliness that probably specifically males go through, of course, at a young age, teenagers, that's where a man would find themselves before they go on to the world, maturity, puberty, all of those things. Why do you think the law, it's specific in the law saying that this only refers to people under the age of 18? Why do you think that is?
Because there's a presumption at the age of 18, one no longer is under the discretion of an adult, but one is deemed to be capable of making their own decision. And so you don't make decisions for adults, presumably who are of sound mind. And so I think that age has, with what we think as being maturity, and it's just an age, a number we've pulled out.
If in the law, this is one thing about the law, that if someone is found trying to change someone's sexual orientation through means such as shock therapy, as researched, it could possibly receive a fine of $1,000 or 1 year in jail. Do you think that fits the crime for gay conversion therapy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, a year in jail might be more onerous, but not $1,000. And I am not sure that the law by itself will help tremendously. It will be a deterrent to some people, but certainly not to a large group.
That was going to be my next question. That with this law coming, a victim of conversion therapy was quoted as saying that this law makes a statement and about what Erie County stands for, since it was subjected to Erie County itself. Just your last quick thought, in your opinion, how much of a statement does this law make?
I mean, anything helps towards the struggle. I mean, for most struggles were not won by one blow, but steps that were taken, and this is a good step that has been taken. And hopefully it will cause some people who had not thought about it to begin to think about it in more serious ways of its consequences.
All right. That's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Rudy Matai for coming in with us. My name is Ron Richards. This is the Buffalo Review TV.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, thebuffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.
Population is very diverse. 1/3 of students on campus are in fact transfer students. I'm sitting here with Deborah Jones, an admissions advisor here at Buffalo State and member of the newly developed transfer center in Moot Hall. Ms. Jones was hired as an admissions assistant upon graduation from Buff State, and over the years has developed skill on transfer credit evaluation and has worked to streamline the evaluation process. She has worked with both first-year and transfer students and has worked tirelessly to bring students to Buffalo State. The Transfer Center has been designed to help incoming transfer students get acclimated to the Buffalo State way. Deb, thanks for being here with us today.
Not a problem, Alex. Glad I'm here.
Awesome. And As I stated earlier, the Buffalo State students are, 1/3 of them are transfer students. Has the idea of the transfer center, when did this come about? I mean, was there a lot of transfer students wanting to know how they can become better acclimated to the Buffalo State way?
Well, transfer students, because generally we concentrate on first-year students. And as you know, University College was established for them. But when orientation is taking place for transfer students, and there's a lot of questions that will come up after they've gone from one workshop to another, they need some place to go, because sometimes you just don't have enough time to answer questions in these workshops. So they always end up in admissions. And we have 3 people. We have a transfer team, and it's 3 of us currently. And we try to help and guide them on that one day that they're here. So that was the sole purpose as we started talking. What can we do to help transfer students? Because this is a new environment for them. It's not high school. They've transitioned from high school to a 2-year institution, some from a 4-year institution. But it was trying to be helpful so they wouldn't get lost.
And I'm a transfer student myself. I transferred over 2 years ago now, and I know that the transfer center would have definitely been beneficial to me, you know, starting off. So, now, as far as the transfer center, is there a central location where students can reach you guys?
Right now, it's just held in admissions. We don't have a central place. It keeps being talked about. And again, being a student here at Buffalo State, they're doing a lot of renovating in different buildings and stuff like that. Right now, we don't know where it could be, but right now it's being housed in admissions.
And there's a wide variety of students here at Buffalo State. I remember reading a news article where there's a 70-year-old student here, and you compare that with a student who's born in the year of 2000. So how do you guys, as a transfer center, kind of individualize the process and adhere to the needs of the individual student based on whatever situation they're in?
Well, as a non-matriculated student or matriculated student, 70 or 18, we try to make that student, both students, feel relaxed and comfortable. We try to make sure that as we talk to them, we're telling them the information they need to know. A lot of students who are mature, they're nervous being in a school that could be sitting 40 students and they're all 18, 17, 20, and they're trying to figure out, do I belong here? I was one of those students because I came here as a mature student. So we try to make them feel comfortable.
Right. And what would you say that some of the main aspects of the Buffalo State way that these transfer students have to become acclimated to?
Well, most students, as a transfer students, they're concerned about, 1, financial aid, 2, how many credits will transfer over from whatever institution they're coming from, and how will all this work? Can I get here and graduate in 2 years? Because a lot of these students are mature students and they're working and they have families, so they really don't have a lot of time. And online courses are very necessary for them, so they're going to ask all those kind of questions.
Right, and I know for me personally, things like Blackboard and Degree Works, those were all tough for me myself. Luckily, I had some friends that were able to help me out along the way, but I know I definitely struggled with that at first as a transfer student.
It happens.
Yeah. What is the difference between the way an incoming freshman is acclimated to the Buff State way compared to a junior or even a senior transfer student?
Well, again, you being a student here and a transfer student, you only had 1 day of an orientation. So if that was the first time you came onto this campus, there's going to be a lot of questions coming from you. And sometimes orientation definitely tries to fulfill that need. Sometimes they might miss the mark because there's a lot of questions in your head because one school is different from the other. The freshmen have the opportunity to be here for 3 days, so they get a chance to walk around the campus. They get to do a lot of different activities, to have some fun, meet an advisor and so forth. For transfer students, they are moving from one workshop to another, and then they get to see their advisor. So again, that's where the transfer center works for them, because if they end up in admissions, if they had a chance to see an advisor, and sometimes that's group advisement, and all the answers, all the questions they have don't get answered.
Right. And I know you guys are currently working on developing a website for the Transfer Center. And in this day and age, a lot of stuff is done online. But for those who still need that face-to-face contact, how important is that for you guys to be able to give that to these transfer
It's very
students?
important. We keep trying to come up with ways of, as we go out and visit various different schools, and most of the time it's always two-year institutions, we ask them, have you been on our campus? And we encourage them to come on our campus, because even though they've lived in Buffalo all their life, they sometimes just say, is that the Elmwood campus? Because they get us confused with the University of Buffalo, and they know they have too. So we do encourage students to come on this campus and visit with us, because we want that one-on-one, face-to-face with them, because I think until they sit down with someone, they won't understand it.
Right. And could you just tell me a little bit, I know you guys had a trial event held in January for the accepted students. Is that where you had a chance to kind of work on some of the things that the Transfer Center would like to?
Yes, we did, because my supervisor, Amy Rumfola, we again, as a team, we kind of sit and feed back off of each other. What should we do? What do we need to do? What have we heard from other students? And one of the issues that came up was she looked at a spreadsheet to saw how many students we had, how many people waived and paid deposit, and how many had not registered. And that's what we were trying to do, reach out to the students who had not paid deposit, or we have not waived their deposit and had not registered. And that was the group we tried to bring on this campus, because we needed them to register, because again, in January, it's late.
Right, absolutely. And what about I hear a lot about the transfer on the spot days. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Transfer on the spot is another venture that we've dabbled into a little bit. It means that we send emails out and to all the students who have not been accepted and have not completed. So we invite them to come on campus to bring transcripts of missing paperwork, whatever's missing, bring it. And if you bring it and we can get you completed, then we can decision you and then move you on to the next direction. Again, the Transfer Center does kind of narrow it down, say, yes, you have been accepted, and these are your next steps, and that's what we try to do on that.
Those are very helpful things, something I certainly could have used a couple of years ago, so I think it's a great thing what you guys are doing. One more quick question. As far as the website is concerned, do you have any knowledge as to how students will be able to get to that? Is it a part of the Buff State website itself, or is it its own separate entity?
I don't think we've decided yet. I mean, Buffalo State does have a transfer page that may be the place that we will place that piece that we have. But right now, we haven't decided where it's going to go. But right now, since we have a transfer page, we're hoping to move people in that direction, because the transfer page that we do have is very important, because it does have a lot of information on it.
Right. All right, Deborah, thanks a lot. That's all we have time for today. I would like to thank Deborah Jones once again for taking the time to meet with us today.
The Buffalo Review
I'm Alex
TV,
Sylvia.
produced by Stripes
Review
Media.
TV.
We welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.